We are going to be looking back at Cheltenham Saturday and Sunday in the final part of tonight's show. It's not all about sort of competition. People have tweeted in various messages, or they may well be entering for the £20. What are they saying? Yeah,
we've got a lot of people entering for the £20. Sorry, I was just reading one here from Detective. Ooh, do I have to follow her? I think you mean me. You don't have to. You really don't have to. I don't really talk much about anything. Q card, Silviana Conti. That's Bruce Block has been saying that. We've got Jamie Brownlow. Hello, Jamie. The new one will win. Won't be surprised to see forerunners because of the ground conditions. Yeah, everyone's really getting involved with the competition. Gary, can I just say, GFOS 1986. I do love a good emoji. You've done good use of the emoji, so well done. And the hashtag winner score. I don't get out much, I don't think, with the emojis at all. Anthony as well. Mato 66. Those runners. John Ferguson's had a poor record come March. His runners seem to run out of puff during the season. We've also got here Jamie again. Sam Twist and Davis rode 2 great rides at Cheltenham at the weekend.
And we're going to touch on them later because I need to defend him.
OK, we will do. I tell you what we're going to do now. We're going to talk about the Betfair Chase. This is the big race on Saturday. At the head of the market is Q Card. Where do we stand on Q Card?
I love this race. I think it's fair to say that this is one of the highlights of the early part of the season. I think the Paddy Power, whilst a good race to watch, and I know people like Billy Blakeman love the betting turnover and things, I think this is a pure good chasers race. And you look at the list of horses that have won this race. Oh, it's just it's brilliant, and it is, I suppose, in some ways the first part of that Triple Crown in a weird way when you think what you've got at Boxing Day and then obviously going on to the Gold Cup. I like a lot of the horses in here. I'm going to make a play for a bigger price one, but Q Card, is that where you'd like to start, Peter?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the head of the market. I mean,
and you can understand why.
Yeah, we looked over the race, didn't we? Exeter. We felt that, I think it's fair to say, we felt that particular form was slightly below par from the Exeter run last year, but coming from 2 from home, pretty much similar race. I mean, he's trying to give weight to a lot of his competitors.
On the day, I remember looking at that race at some depth, and it was, for me, an impossibility for have any kind of winning chance. How it was punted into, what was it, 6-4 in the end. That told me a lot. The fact it was into 6-4, the horse was ready on the day. A lot made the horse will come a lot on for the run. I'm very concerned for horses that have come back from injuries, you know, like any athlete in life. You know, when they've had a setback, not many of them come back to the very best. And going into a Grade 1 event like this, that's my concern for him. And his run was below par for a horse that appreciates a little further. At least last year, when he still had quite a lot of weight in the race, at least in the closing stage, he showed that fighting spirit and stayed on. For me, he was backpedaling and ran a good half a stone beneath that form. He's a Grade 3 winner. He's a very likeable horse. Of course, this time last year, the question was, will he stay the trip? And of course, it's worth pointing out the Betfair Chase used to be over 3 miles. But it's not
horses
now.
Like God's Own were carrying 10-7. Border Suso, people rate very highly. That was carrying 11
I like that
stone.
horse.
I know everyone likes it, but I mean, Q Card was carrying 11-10.
And don't forget, that it was his first runs back. They were. You say the money came for it. I don't necessarily think that was money that was being punted on the horse to win. I think it could have been track money, where it's, you know, home territory for the horse and its fans as such.
Well, anyone knows about racing would not be backing that first time out 13-8. That's for sure.
Not with my money, but that's other people's views. I would say with Q Card as well, I do really like the horse. I do think it's a very tough event to be coming back into, supposedly just about peaking at your best. When you think it's possibly going to be looking at Boxing Day, I don't want it at the price. But then the Tizzards are in form. They seem to. They had a winner at Fontwell. So on Target did very well at Cheltenham last week. I think his yard is coming into form, which it was completely out of form. Don't forget when Q Card made its reappearance. They hadn't had a winner for about 40 runners.
88.
88. There you go.
Two out of 88 it was. 2 winners out of 88.
I think with any Grade 1, this is what this is a Grade 1 race. You know, the horses have to be tuned and ready to go on those particular days, and it was an underperformance. Normally this horse is fairly ready first time out. And for the Tizzards, I remember hearing the Sun speak today on a news item, and obviously saying they are a fairly small yard, and these kind of horses don't come along very often. I'm damn sure for any Grade 1 or grade race they go through, they'll have that horse right. And for me, I'm afraid last year's performance was very good. He did stay. It looked like to be a stellar cast that he beat last year, but I was left scratching my head with the performance in the King George. Again, travelled lovely into the race and folded tamely in the closing stages like a non-stare. and I'm afraid
maybe that Kempton race is run more strongly run race.
That's it. The Kempton Boxing Day race does take a real special winner.
I mean, we've got to look at the other opposition here, because pretty much 3 at the head of the market ran in this race last year. Soon over Conti, you've got Dynast. Severo Conti, I'm sorry, but first time out, that was disappointing, even though the distance question marks.
Whoa. Nichols' string, he came out himself and said, look, we're about a month behind. He'd had these new gallops installed. He hadn't done enough work on all of them. You know, a lot of them had flattered or to deceive on their reappearances. He's fair to say he's firing.
He's had some good Saturdays.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the last 2 Saturdays he's been banging in the winners. And the ones that haven't won, people have been blaming the jockey, or they've been going off at a short price and coming second. It's not like they've been out the back getting done for fitness and they don't look right. I think his yard is on song. They're buzzing off the back of a huge win last Saturday, and of the 3 at the head of the market, it would be the one that I would expect to be winning.
I mean, Silvio Conti's an interesting horse. He was actually my selection last year, and he disappointed me bitterly, travelled well into the race. This is a normal thing I've been saying out of the horse. Like last time, travelled into the race, and in the closing stages finds precious little. I know he's obviously won his races, but I always got this feeling that he might have been winning races. It was a bit circumstantial, and whether he really was that kind of top draw. At the end of last season, he showed a trait of beginning to hang. Now they're talking about putting headgear on. I don't think he's an engendering horse at all. I'm not sure that's going to make any difference at all on that performance last time. I know last time out, first time when he ran in this race, again Paul Nicholls was barking and saying that the horse would need the run. Then he turned up and won a King George. But on that day, he was, Q Card had him well beat, and it looked like it was going to be a similar story until, Q Card tamely and made Silvio Conti look a lot better than he was for me that day.
What I would say is, how do you think they're going to ride the horse? Obviously, on the reappearance, it was very prominent. Popped the first 6 or 7 really well, then just started to tire, and obviously the reappearance was disappointing in that sense. If we put a line through it though, how do you expect this horse to be ridden? How would you want it? If you were the punter, you've had your £10 on, how would you want the horse ridden?
Well, I certainly want to get in a duel with Q Card. Q Card can only go one way. I mean, if you remember, they tried the tactics of holding him up once. It was an absolute disaster. So he's going to be going off. I wouldn't want to be having a duel with him. So I think they'd be quite happy to get second or third.
This is very much set up for Q Card to lead from the front kind of race, because Dynast is not going to lead either. Dynast will come late, and let's talk about Dynast. It disappointed me last year, certainly the King George, disappointed me in some of the races last year, but then came back to form at Cheltenham, but not at this distance.
What did it beat at Cheltenham though? That is, the Ryanair Chase is the consolation prize. Come on, you've got Ranjani Express and Hidden Cyclone.
I agree, it's not great for
don't get me wrong, Cheltenham wins are fantastic at any level, and I quite like the horse and I like connections, but
that hasn't worked out.
It's not a race I would get.
Now, Barry said that he imagined that the 3 at the head of the market will all be priced around about the same. I don't think that's going to be. I think there might be a clear favourite of the day. I don't think
depends. It'd be good to see different bookmakers take different approaches, because you could probably find you're going to get 3-1 on any of the front 3 at some point Saturday morning. The late money will tell. And that's where you'll think, is this the horse that's being punted?
Okay, it's not a free horse race, because you like one that I originally liked, Tucker into Sill.
I do, and it's funny, isn't it, this race, and when we sit down and you assess it, you have thoughts about, just looking at their face, on paper, and you think to yourself, I think this, and I wasn't sure, but in the end, it was the visual impression of Tackler into Sill we seen last time. I just noticed he was going ever so well. He travelled through the race like the best horse, and I'm a firm believer in you don't get to learn whether a horse is handling the ground until the jockey lets it off the bridle, and as soon as McCoy let off the bridle, his head come up, and he's got that very high knee action, which was on good ground, and I just think he just didn't let himself on the ground at all. So up to that point, until he had to be let off the bridle, he was running a tremendous race. I think the soft ground is going to be well up his street at the weekend. Do I think going forward?
Is it because there's question marks against the 3 at the head of the market?
Absolutely.
Because if you said right, they're all between 175 and 180 rated.
Yeah, see, I don't think he is. I think he's
below that, but then the other 3, there's question marks against them. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, but Tuck Winter, do you think this is, John Joe's got a few different characters that could end up in the Gold Cup? This is the thing now. We've seen how much improvement he's got out of some of these. John Spirit is a fantastic story.
We've got Holywell.
Holywell as well. But do we... I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't necessarily see the best of this horse until the spring, and I don't think that's a bad thing. John Joe String had been going okay. He didn't set Cheltenham alight like Phillips Hobbs did, or even David Pipe, who actually I think is a trainer in form going into this race. When you look at his runners he had at Cheltenham, he was hitting the post or he was picking up winners.
The ones he was knocking in were the ones that were coming back from the break, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. One that won the race last time, Menora, this race at Wetherby. Now 7-8 to 1. The ground would have gone against, and we've looked at this again. 2 runs not consistent. You get a good run and then one not so good and then a good one. Can we bury the hatchet there and
including
think
the flat run there?
Well, I'm just saying, if you look at the ratings, the Menora does not run 2 races.
No, Menora's 9 years old now. He's been on the block for quite a while, and it was a great surprise to me, as it was when Wishful Thinking bolted up at Aintree. Philip Hobbs, the trainer, can't seem to do anything wrong at the moment. Whatever he sends out seems to be winning. But he was impressive that day, and if you're looking at form at face value, then he was having to give the likes of Tackland Sul £5 for a 4 lengths beating. So officially, Tackland Sul has to improve £9. That in terms of weights to length, that's 9 lengths. It's quite a lot to make up. But I think the ground has gone against him now. Any direction is soft, and I wouldn't be surprised whether he actually got pulled out on the knowing, Philip Hobbs, that it was going to be soft ground. I wouldn't imagine he'd want to bottom this horse when he could have the horse for another race later on.
There's one horse here that would probably need to rain for about 3 days leading up to Saturday for it to win. Harry Topper.
It's going to be my charity bet as well. I'm really.
You're looking up at the skies and hoping.
I am. I will be at Haydock with my rain stick, performing rain dances for the next 3 days. It is going to rain a lot-ish on Friday night. Depends how much Haydock actually gets, but the racing there on the Friday could help. And I really like the horse. I think this could be its Gold Cup. Let's be honest. Harry Topper likes the ground soft. A lot of these horses are going to be looking for bigger prizes in the spring. I'm not saying they're not tuned up for it, because this is a Grade 1 and it's a fantastic race to win.
Big prize money as well. They'll be up for it. They'll all be up for it.
Jason Maguire's ridden the horse 4 or 5 times, won 3 times on it. Barry all mentioned jumping. Yeah, a little bit of a concern, but this horse has a heck of an engine. And I can just see, don't forget, it gave a huge beating to Alfaroff when Alfaroff didn't stay and all that.
Well, it was a 2-runner race, though, wasn't it? 2-3 runner race.
Still, to give a huge beating to a very good yardstick. Harry Topper, if he gets clear rounding, I think it'll be there chasing Q Card down.
I actually think the trainer may not place his horse in this race unless it does the heavens do open.
I absolutely see this angle, Sam. I really do.
At the prices as well.
I think if it was on his best form, which you're talking about at Newbury, I backed him that day because I've always had in my mind that when he gets his ground, he is seriously top class horse he can run to, and he was running to marks of 170 odd that day for me at Newbury. It was on heavy ground, atrocious conditions.
Okay, I'm going to have to interrupt you because we're running out of time on this section. Your selection, charity bet.
Tackland Sul.
Tackland Sul.
I am obviously going to go for Harry Topper. The one thing I would say is Giant Bolster's 33 to 1. If David Bridgewater can find a half decent jockey, I think that could be a huge price. Not for me, but I know people out there will think that's quite a. It always seems to get placed.